Josh Hayes has won 7 Pro National Championships, a Superstock, 2 Formula Extremes, and of course 4 Superbikes. Then there's his 2 incredible one-off World Championship rides. His 4th place finish in the 2008 World Supersport race at Portimao after leading the opening laps, and his 7th place finish in the 2011 MotoGP race at Valencia. And Josh Hayes isn't finished yet. I mean, did you win your first championship? Was like 750 Superstock or something?
It was the last year of the 750s in 2003. 2003, yeah.
And you've been winning championships now for 16 years.
I managed for a while.
And you're coming off the Superbike and you decided, I'm not done yet, I'm going to race these kids in 600s.
It didn't quite go down like that, you know, but Yamaha still had me on staff as a reserve rider, though I didn't get to ride in 2018. They also had me kind of, I guess they called it mentoring Junior Cup kids, as well as helping former teammates and Superbikes and the 600 guys. So just everyone Yamaha was kind of involved. But it didn't really afford me any chances to ride, though originally we had hoped I would get the test and help with some development and things that didn't really pan out. So at the beginning of this year, Melissa's program had kind of changed up a little bit. She had a good 600, but nobody to ride it. Whenever the time came, a deal fell through. And we decided just to do Daytona, just to show that Mel could crew chief it and build and field a good motorcycle. And we had a good run at Daytona. And then when the MotoAmerica season started, the only intention was to go there and work with several of the riders there. And we were hoping that we would find someone to ride this 600 program, but it needed some funding behind it to make it happen. Well, as we talked about it more and more after Daytona, a lot of people were excited, and people started saying, hey, we like what you're doing with your family. We're willing to get behind that, and kind of supported it enough to make it happen where it wasn't costing us money out of our pocket, which was the only way we could afford to do it, you know. So we've managed to be able to ride a majority of the season and get myself out there on the 600 and Supersport. And, you know, the very first weekend we probably punched above our weight a little bit in Virginia and got 2 podiums, and we've struggled a little since, but been in the top 5 or 6, 7 kind of the rest of the season.
What changed? Did everybody else up their game from that point?
No, I think, you know, Virginia I came into after a strong Daytona and wanting a little redemption, a track that was really a good racetrack for me, and motivation was high. It was a last-minute deal, and I was just fired up and having fun. And the thing that's become, you know, very apparent, the lessons learned are my life has just changed a lot in the couple years since I was a professional superbike rider, and being a father and a husband and a rider coach to a lot of other people in the paddock. You know, I'm not a professional racer anymore, so when I go home, I haven't thought about racing since the last race, where as a professional and what the other guys are doing is they go home and just lament day and night about how to right the wrongs from the previous race. And for me, that hasn't been the case. It's been trying to be a dad and figure out what the next phase of life is. There's not a lot of future for me for racing, but there is a lot of past, you know. And then I come to the racetrack and I ride the bike and I come in and we talk a little bit about the bike, but then I spend most of the day talking to other riders about their problems with their motorcycles. So I'm not really focused on doing a good job and being selfish and taking care of me and my team the way that I did before. And so, you know, you find that the days get really long, and I didn't get much time to rest and take care of myself, eat well during the day, and all of a sudden I'm gridding up to go out there and race again. And in the race you find that I can do some good laps. As you can see, I can qualify in the front row, I can get myself up there and practice most of the time, but when it comes to putting together 19 laps in a race, life takes its toll on me, and I can't quite perform at the level that I used to be able to.
I'm hoping that you're going to race until you're 80 years old and they have to crane you onto your bike.
There are things about it that I absolutely love. You know, I love the competition. I love being out there and being a part of it. But, you know, I'm not that far removed from a guy that was a factory superbike rider and had very high expectations of competing at the front. And it's really disappointing when my wife does all this hard work to prepare me a bike that was today definitely good enough to get on the podium, and I just honestly, I can't do my job out on the racetrack to make that happen. So it's a little disheartening and makes me, you know, lose a little bit of a motivation to say, wait, maybe I need to move on to the next phase and try a little harder to offer this to the next up and comer and give someone else a good opportunity. So we'll see what the future holds. We're not quite sure yet.
What's happening out there? The front is just pushing, or it just won't make the apex, or?
No, my bike's good. The bike is performing just fine. Honestly, I just got tired and I start making mistakes. The physical side of it starts coming into play, and when you get a little bit tired, your brain goes with it. And so I'm not able to maintain the focus to ride on the very pointy end for 40 minutes, 30 minutes, you know, and it used to not be a problem, but I was very practiced at it, and I never took any breaks for 20 years. So now you sit at home on the couch for a year and watch from the sidelines, and then I go home and I don't train. When I do train, I still am doing it. I never had a couple of days in a row where I didn't get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night after trying to train and perform at a high level. So I was constantly working to take care of myself, and now that luxury isn't there. I've got a wife that's a go-getter outside, so I can't just say, honey, you've got the kid, I've got to move on and do this other thing, because she's got a lot of jobs to do to field this motorcycle also. So we have to share those duties, and we have to each take our lumps. And it's showing where you don't see Melissa riding as much and just picking races that she really enjoys doing. But again, she's not able to get out and train and prep the same either. And our life is just not the way that it was at that time. That's a very, very selfish life, and you can't do both.
It sounds like it is a focus thing where you lose focus, and now you've missed your braking marker by 3 feet, and now you haven't hit the apex, and now you can't drive, and it just kind of snowballed.
You make a few of those mistakes, and you start realizing that you have to start backing things up a little bit. You have to start grabbing the brakes a little bit sooner to make sure you don't make mistakes that are going to get you hurt. And in doing that, you start watching the guys creep away from you a couple of tenths of a second a lap. And then I can hunker down and throw in a good lap and get back to within a half a second and on pace with the guys in front of me, but I just couldn't maintain doing that 17 laps in a row. I got through till about lap 8 or so. I was with the group, I was there, everything felt great, and I'm like, man, I'm there. And I made one little mistake and dropped back, and I just didn't have the juice needed to make that back up and then continue to ride at that level the whole time. At some point, a little self-preservation comes into play, and there was a time in my life where it was a different attitude and different preparation.
What do you think about Bobby Fong? Are you kind of mentoring him?
Yeah, I've been working with Bobby. I worked with Bobby a little bit last year, and then this year really seen a big turnaround just in his attitude, and here you are, he's leading the championship. He's riding very, very steady, and he's there every single weekend. And yeah, we just keep his nose clean for 3 more weekends. I think we might have us a new Supersport champion.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Show me what you want.